just spin profile, Mikey.
Yeah.
Look at the difference.
Massive jump in distance.
Like night and day, obviously, by the time you can strike a little up the head, launch, spin, like good speed.
Spin was like 23 and now it's at, 17. That's a big drop.
All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Mikey, after over 1,500 videos in this channel, it's not many times that we can say we're doing a video for the very first time on a specific topic, but today is that day.
And the topic we're doing, I'm surprised it's not been touched on before.
Well, I think we've maybe touched upon it in other videos on other topics, but we have never focused specifically on the topic of loft sleeves in, call it woods, but specifically we're going to talk today in drivers. We're going to talk about the big four, right?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Ping, TaylorMade, Callaway, Titleist, and their loft sleeve, their capabilities, what's unique about them, and ultimately, guys, what do they offer you in the form of performance that will help you extract more out of your own sort of on-course sort of driving performance. So let's start with what we would call the single-axis loft sleeve options, which is Ping. Probably the loft sleeves that has evolved the most. One of the things when you think of all the loft sleeve, if you think of TaylorMade, from the one that first came out to this one, I think there's been one evolution of it, or one sort of modification to it. Ping came out and had the sort of plus and minus. Then it became, I think there was two more options.
Yeah.
And then there was the secret settings, if you want to call them that, the flatter settings. So it has went from sort of 3 settings basically to 5, I think to 8 now. So that one has evolved really, really nicely. And guys, we call that a single axis loft sleeve because it starts in one position, which in Ping in the loft sleeve, it's sort of a neutral lie angle position for them, standard to what the driver says. It can go 3 degrees flatter, and it will also move open and close as it moves towards plus and minus. I think the loft adjustability is 1.5 degrees either way, which gives us 3 degrees of face angle adjustment.
Cool.
So when it comes to single axis loft sleeves, whether it be TaylorMade, whether it be Ping, we do have quite a lot of movement of the face angle, right? So this loft sleeve, if you kind of twist it, I mean, it's quite, maybe we can get sort of a graphic sort of in the B-roll to show it, but if you twist it, you can actually see the loft sleeve is on an angle. The loft sleeve relationship to the hosel of the driver is what changes the face angle and makes it either sit closed or sit open or up or down. And single axis loft sleeve do that sort of, it's the face angle and the lie are tied together. Right. That is a kind of pro and a con at the same time. It's a benefit and a weakness. If we go over into the other 2 loft sleeves that we're going to talk about today, we'll look at Titleist and we'll look at Callaway. They are what we would call double axis loft sleeves. So in Titleist, you've got the 4 numbers and the 4 letters. Callaway, you've got some numbers, you've got a few less settings, but again, you've got some amount of loft and you've got some amount of face that you can move it. These ones are good in that you can somewhat independently manage face angle and loft and lie as well. So you have a few more options to separate that. Like we talked about and hang with us, this will be a little bit meaty in this part of the video today. We'll show you and hopefully demonstrate a little bit once we start hitting. But the double axis loft sleeves give us the ability, so we can have loft turned down, but we can have lie angle up. Right? That's something where, it's a bit more sort of unique. You can also have lie angle stay the same and have loft go up and down. So you can sort of somewhat separate those two independently in a different way than you can on the single axis loft sleeves. Okay. I guess the pro and the con of these two, and it's another thing, I'm surprised every time we go and we see a product launch from these companies is another 2 that have not evolved. Really, since Titleist came out with their first loft sleeve in 2010, it has been the SureFit loft sleeve, 4 numbers, 4 letters, 16 configurations. I'm really surprised that there has not been a evolution of this loft sleeve.
I think it's one of those that, some of their engineers maybe go, well, if it ain't broke, you know, why fix it? I'm sure, like we've seen in the past on tour trucks or in tour departments, you have a flat cog, you have an upright cog, more offset, more onset. I'm sure somewhere down the road, all these companies have different iterations, but you're right. I mean, you know, none of these have changed in the longest time. And it's interesting, but also, you know, the other thing I think is if customers have this shaft and then they get a new driver 3 years time from now, it'll still work versus having to, you know, take it to a repair shop or buying a new shaft.
Without a doubt. You're holding the Callaway Cog right now. Callaway does have 2 additional cogs, and maybe even on tour a few more, to be honest. But at retail and fairly accessible, they have a green dot and a red dot cog. Green dot is the stronger Loft sleeve. So this Loft sleeve allows, or the regular Loft sleeve that we have here allows Loft to come down by 1, but to go up by 2. And you know, we'll go to maybe reversing Loft sleeves a little bit, you know, and how lefties kind of work, and they give us some additional options, kind of like unlocking a little kind of cheat code. They have that option with the green dot that can actually turn the Loft a little bit stronger, and then the red dot can allow us to play with the lie angle in a slightly more sort of, call it neutral or flatter position, depending on the golfer that you are. So there are these 2 different types. And the reason we're doing this video is because I definitely don't believe that golfers in the mainstream have been educated well enough as to, well, should I be single axis Loft sleeve? Should I be double axis Loft sleeve? Should I take what Titleist offer me and Callaway offer me with their capabilities? Or should I go with, you know, what TaylorMade and Ping offer me with theirs? We hear about it all the time. We just done a Q&A a second ago there, and someone asked, I've got this Loft sleeve, I've got my shaft pured. If I change that position, does that, you know, sort of invalidate the puring? Some it does and some it doesn't.
Correct.
Again, Callaway, Callaway, it will always still be able to put it in the pure position because you have 2 independent rings that can move separately off of the sleeve. Titleist, you still have 4 positions of the 16. So if you're on, you know, A1, B1, C1, D1, you can still be, you know, have a pured position. But if you go into the 2s and 3s and the 4s, it invalidates that puring and moves it to a different axis. So if that's something that's meaningful to you, then you're probably going to want to think about which Loft sleeve you have and kind of take that into consideration.
Good point.
Okay, let's look at single axis Loft sleeves first. What do they do? Let's look at some shot shape and some lie angle adjustment, and then we'll go into the doubles.
Okay, we're going to start with Ping G430 driver.
Sure. Just a baseline, basically.
Single axis, starting in neutral setting.
Neutral position, yeah. Lie angle in this, Mikey, 58.5.
Yeah. Good swing.
Not bad, maybe a bit toey.
Okay.
Action toey, Mikey. Let's look at what we like and what we don't like, because ultimately we're going to explore these sleeves and what capabilities they offer us, right? Not bad, bit high in dynamic loft.
A little spinny.
See if we can get that strike slightly higher. Higher with the strike, I think. Pretty middled. Height for days.
Yeah, plenty of height.
Yeah. Okay, so one thing we'd want to look at with this Loft sleeve, too much dynamic loft. Not that it's good or bad at this point, but 7.2 degrees toe up on the lie angle. So obviously with this one, we want to control loft. So let's go big minus, okay?
Okay, Fries, now we've moved the Hosel setting to big minus, or 1.5 degrees less than what's stated. Obviously looking to bring flight down, control a bit of spin.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. We would want that dynamic loft closer to the 17, 18 degree mark, Mikey. A little bit better, Mikey.
Yeah, sounded better.
You can see it's just coming out that bit flatter, isn't it?
Yeah, in standard, it would mean, in fact, the driver's touching 140 feet.
Yeah.
Spins better.
More manageable, a little bit less dynamic. That's what we want.
Bit better?
I think a bit better in the result, Mikey.
Yeah.
And if you want to kind of maybe pull the compare and put them side by side. Yeah, I mean, good enough, right? It's not crazy. It's 1.2 degrees of adjustment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better. Go to club again. Lie angle. Yeah, lie angle is coming in flatter consistently for whatever reason.
Okay, a little adjustment into the flat setting, 1 degree less aloft and flat. And like you just said a second ago, when you put it down, you're like, I like the look of that. That is one of the nice things with these drivers being adjustable is you can find it, maybe the way it sits that pleases my eye versus your eye. Hopefully you get fit for the setting, but it does help.
Definitely. Let's see what it does to the numbers. Better.
A nice flight.
I feel like that was a little better strike.
A little flatter, lets it run.
What was the lie on that one, Mikey? So quite a bit. We're seeing 3.8.
Yeah.
One thing for you guys to remember is that obviously different companies have different lengths of standard lengths of driver. If we make this driver shorter, the lie angle's flatter. If we make it longer, the lie angle's more upright. So it does give us the capability as well to cater to shaft lengths and achieve obviously a certain lie angle. We'll maybe get into it with some of the other drivers, but lie angle gives us a bit of influence on start line, right? More upright it is, the more left it will start. Flatter it is, the more right it will start. But I think that's a pretty good example there of like dynamically something that will help me with the left, so it sits flatter. Face angle sits a tad open and also gets dynamic loft down into the best position. I've had it at 18.
Yeah.
So for me, this would be, of all 8 settings, that would probably be the optimal setting for me.
Cool.
Okay, let's dive into TaylorMade.
Okay, into the TaylorMade driver. Again, like you said, it might have had a slight change back in the day, but really for the last 6 years, it feels like nothing's been adjusted to it whatsoever.
Definitely, definitely. One of the things, and most companies are the same, Ping were the same with their LST driver versus their 10K driver, but the one we're going to do right now is the kind of extreme to the 10K. This is the QI10 LS, the flattest lie angle of any generic company on the market, any OEM, 54-degree lie angle to start with.
Yeah.
So again, players who like maybe to play a longer driver or like just sitting the driver a bit more toe down, if they're a very flat horizontal swing plane, yeah, that would be something that they would really like. So let's see what this gives us. Good one.
Good swing.
Oh yeah, 1.9 toe up on that one. So we're looking at probably the 2 extremes within the options we've got right now. 10K came in, I think 7.5 was the highest toe up. They were 1.9. So just shows you the amount of adjustment we have. Now, that wasn't bad, but obviously I play my driver a little bit less loft than that.
Yeah.
So let's turn that down a fraction more. In fact, let's go all the way. Let's just go full lower on this one.
Okay, Fred, so the one interesting one, Ping neutral setting, TaylorMade neutral setting. I was looking at lie angle. That was the one thing just to show.
Yep.
It's a significant difference, but obviously being a flatter driver. Look at the loft difference as well.
Yeah, I mean, that center of gravity being forward versus back is very different. So the one thing I want to look at with the lower setting, Mikey, is right now, the path on that last one was 3.8 degrees right, face a bit left, that going to produce a nice draw. So this is the most adjustable face or sleeve we have for face angle. Face angle can go as much as 4 degrees open. So generally for me, that's always a good thing. It's one of the reasons I've always liked TaylorMade drivers. I can sit a bit open and I feel protected against that left miss, which is good. You don't have that adjustability or nearly that same adjustability with the Ping. Interesting in club head as well. So club head weight on the 10K
makes
versus,
a huge difference.
Yeah, it's one of those one of the reasons why I think it's overstated the value of the 10K, because I think there are limitations to going that heavy in head weight as well and in that head shape. Just spin profile, Mikey.
Yeah.
Look at the difference.
Massive jump in distance.
Like night and day, obviously, by the time you can strike a little up the head, launch spin, like good speed.
Spin was like 23 and now it's at, 17. That's a big drop.
Obviously, CG in our favor. Like if you want to compare that one to the very first one with the 10K in its standard position, Like that's when we talk about people gaining 30, 40 yards in fits. This is the type of thing that we see.
Almost 4 miles an hour faster.
Strike height massively different, obviously.
Yeah, totally.
But strike height will be higher if your CG is a little further forward. You'll have less tipping of the head,
okay.
you know, in that sort of high deflection point.
That gain on distance is nuts.
High. Okay, so good example there, Mikey, of the face angle being closer to the path.
Yeah.
So that discrepancy, path was, yeah, it was a little bit more right, but the face to path being that much tighter, going to straighten out that ball flight. Again, another reason you might want to choose a loft sleeve like what the TaylorMade one has, just to kind of move. You know, anytime we get the direction of the club and the face angle close to one another, you typically get higher ball speed.
Okay.
Because the sort of direction of the mass and the angle the face is pointing are closer to one another. It's kind of, they're more aligned in their intent, right? So let's head over into Titleist.
In the Titleist driver, obviously, you have somewhat a different way to adjust, but maybe a bit more adjustability depending on the player.
Yeah.
Starting this one off in D1.
Yeah, that's my position. This is my gamer position. I like that. I used to play C1 because it gave me the flatter and the lower loft, but I've ended up settling more on D1.
Okay.
I just, yeah, I don't love to, I don't like to have it sitting too flat.
Okay.
A little open in the face, but solid.
Mm-hmm.
But probably more of the shape I like to see.
Yeah. Now the line angle goes a little bit more upright.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's. I think that's interesting. I've normally seen that line angle be a bit flatter than that for me, and as I've kind of tried to figure out what driver I do like, maybe something I would dabble back into the. Let's do it. Why not?
C1.
Yeah, C1. Because I think dynamic loft wise, that's pretty good.
Yeah. No, I mean the good strikes. I mean you're getting that highish launch, low spin,
especially out of a fairly low strike in the head. I mean, kudos to the design team for getting a bit of a low strike like that to come out with that launch and spin.
It's quick too. Okay, we started in D1.
Yeah.
And now we have moved it to D2.
Mm-hmm.
Lie angle up, but keeping loft the same.
Correct. Lie angle. Yeah, exactly. So this is the beauty of this sleeve is we get our dynamic loft where we want it. We just get a chance to change the lie angle as we need it. So right now we're in the neutral lie angle position. We're moving it 1.5 degrees up into the D2 position. Again, for those who maybe are changing to a shorter driver, those who maybe like that start line to be a bit more left, not something I prefer, but we should see about 1 degree to 1.5 degrees of lie change here.
Strike?
It was, yeah, I mean, it was in today's favorite place, which is a bit thin, but lie angle wise, 7.8. So we do see that start line shift left of the start line.
Lie angle went from 6.2 to 7.8 right away.
Yeah. Better strike for you probably, Mikey.
Consistent shape.
Better strike.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit more on the toe up side of things. So yeah, for me, I would D1, C1, probably live out there in the tightest sleeve. But the thing with the Titleist is that if you go to maybe the TaylorMade and the Titleist, so the thing is with Titleist, I get the opportunity to have dynamic loft a fraction higher, but if you go to ball, it kind of keeps the stability on the spin.
Yeah.
So that's why, again, I can kind of find what I need right now from this one. That's being able to adjust loft and lie independently.
Right. Okay.
The fact that I can get launch and spin in that kind of favorable window. Actually, the trajectories look quite similar, but
Yeah, very close.
numbers-wise, a little different. Okay, last but not least, Callaway.
Okay, last but not least, we're in the Callaway. Again, two kind of adjustability areas on the cog as well. The nice thing with this one, if you do have your shafts pured, you keep it to the little white line, nothing changes, which is nice. Yep. Again, probably a reason why they haven't changed these cogs in a while is good. It's very, very simple.
A cog that's more favorable, I believe, to the right to left player, right? So you've kind of got loft up and lie angle up much more than you've got, certainly loft down.
Right.
So it's almost always moving sort of lie angle more upright. Again, that red sleeve is what that's for, the red dot on the cog. But our good pal Johnny Wonder has a really good explanation down at his website, World of Wonder, on what the green cogs, the red cogs are. So the Callaway enthusiast, that's the best place to learn a little bit about the Callaway cogs would be on Johnny's site. He talks a little bit about them on there. But yeah, I think they're the ones who experiment the most with the cog, and I like that. He showed me something recently with some different weight that they can use in their cogs. Actually moves CG around a little bit, which is, again, it's what I believe should be happening with these loft sleeves. And I think having the two independent rings versus a single axis loft sleeve like what Ping and TaylorMade have, I think that gives you some more options. So I actually really like Callaway's from that standpoint. Neutral. Flatter side, 4.4.
Callaway cog and your versus the Ping cog there. Thoughts?
Well, it's more, so what I wanted to grab this one for, so the Callaway's actually a slightly shorter shaft length. Okay. So you were just looking up there, the triple diamond head, 57 degrees of lie angle starting. Ping today has been 58.5. Title is 58.5. TaylorMade at standard 54. This guy 57, somewhere between the two. But shorter driver length is going to make that play a little bit flatter. So I think that's what we're seeing, in the first two. If we go to the averages of the first two of those, Mikey, is, very, very similar. So 4.4 average, a little bit on the thin side. But yeah, that's where we're going to have the ability to move that lie angle as well. Now, for me, the discovery process or exploring these lie angles is helping me see, like, I'm struggling to control the right to left bias on anything above 6 degrees toe up. On this one, and the TaylorMade one certainly felt like a little bit more manageable, like I'm at the start line and fall line a little bit more where I would want it. So I think that in a fit is where, as fitters, we're moving strike around. If it's a little more flat, we're maybe moving it to one side of the head as well, and into a bit more upright. Might go back into the heel a little bit. That's certainly what we hope happens. So one more with this guy. Straight. I like this driver, Mikey.
I've always said you should play a triple diamond.
That's right. Consistent. Very consistent. 3.4. So again, a little bit on the flatter side holds me down that right-hand side. So yeah, 4 different loft sleeves, lie angle adjustability, some that move face angle and you have to move lie angle. Maybe you don't want that. Sometimes the face angle adjustment isn't enough and you don't have enough room to move face to path relationship to get a nice tight ball flight. Every one of these loft sleeves offers something truly unique. Okay, guys, a pretty thorough debrief on the kind of top 4 loft sleeves. Obviously, there's other companies out there making great product. I think we've liked PXG's drivers this year. Mizuno have been making plays and getting a price point that's really aggressive to get people to play their drivers. Both in that case, single axis loft sleeves. PXG acts quite like the Ping. Mizuno's is a little bit more of, I guess it's more in the TaylorMade sense, so it starts pretty flat and moves up. So, but they're more in the single axis. They don't have the independent rings like Callaway and Titleist have. But for those of you who are even still watching, you can probably understand why this is a bit of a complicated subject. It's not one that we fully expect you guys to all understand the rhyme and reason for each company doing what it does with their loft sleeves. Everyone does something a little bit different and unique, which is why at times we will lean on one versus another if there's a set of circumstances that we see, you know, advantageous to you guys in the bay, that we can give you the performance we feel like you need. Weight's a little bit of a consideration.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the variance we've got there? Probably 7-8 grams all the way up to maybe 12, 13?
Yeah, 13.
About that. So, you know, we do have a little bit to think about with that as well. Some of them are lighter than others. And, you know, Ping, for example, like their loft sleeve was something that they were really reluctant. I'm trying to think when the first one they'd done was probably G400.
Yeah.
Was the first time? No.
G
Before
driver.
that.
They had G30 and then G.
What was before even that? G driver was the original sleeve. I think there was one before that that had like an I-20.
Oh, right. Okay.
I think that had a sleeve as well. It was a basic sleeve. But Ping as a company were not willing to go into that market until they had something that didn't compromise aerodynamics. So they would test it in the aerodynamics tunnels and make sure the airflow around these Hosels was not sort of a detriment to the airflow around the driver. Like there's a lot that goes into this. Other companies just kind of put it on there and said, well, if that's a downside of having this loft sleeve, the upside is way more adjustability, way more configurations. That makes sense too.
Definitely.
Everyone has their own agenda. But ultimately, everyone is designing product for the best of you guys. So hopefully there's a little bit of something in there. You see companies who are making lie angles that are, or loft sleeves that are better for face angle, some that are better for lie angle, some that are truly independent for loft and lie angle. There's a little something out there for everyone. Hopefully you're still with us because I know it's a bit of a meaty one. All right, guys, let us know in your questions below. I think this is a video we need to pay attention to because there'll be lots of questions that come off the back of this. So we will make a point of keeping an eye on this particular video. Some of them are, I think, a little more self-explanatory than this one, but we'll kind of help out with the questions if some of that felt like it was maybe crossing wires.
Yeah.
But we'll do our best to chime in the comments too. All right, stay tuned for more, and we'll see you again soon.